All right, welcome into another edition of the Cover One podcast. Nate Geary here. No Eric Turner today, but we got Kevin Massare. I hope I said it right. Did I say it right?
That is absolutely correct.
Dead on. He's our newest contributor to Cover One. So, Kevin, if you want to introduce yourself to the folks so they know what they're getting themselves into.
Oh, absolutely. Once again, Kevin Massare, active Twitter personality, as well as a writer for Building the Herd. Wrote under Rob for a little while, and very excited to get rocking and rolling here with the Cover One team, and lots of good knowledge coming at you.
Lots of good knowledge. And today we're going to really kind of get into Rick Dennison, who the new offensive coordinator hire is for the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, from what we have all kind of heard from him so far, is he's obviously, as we know, a Gary Kubiak disciple, has really worked with Kubiak exclusively over the course of his career. But, little did I think a lot of people know is how extensive his kind of career extends to, all the way back to 95 in the NFL. And spent a lot of good time with the Broncos. So it is, to me, a little bit at least worrisome. Maybe not worrisome, but it definitely makes you question an organization that he's been so loyal to, and really kind of over the course of his career has been loyal to him as well, decided to part ways, and whether or not that should be something that goes into your judgment of the new offensive coordinator. However, you are going to get some ups and downs with every offensive coordinator. I think the good thing about this hire too, and I don't know how you feel about it, Kevin, but I like it just for the experience standpoint. You're looking at a coaching staff, obviously, at the head man, who this is his first gig, his first go-around as head coach. You get Leslie Frazier on the defensive side of the ball, another experienced head coach in the league. And I think that's really kind of been the goal of this coaching staff, is to bring in that sort of experience to lend to a first-year head coach. And that's the main reason why I think I like the hire of Dennison.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a big fan, actually, in my piece that just went up right before the hiring. He was one of my top 3 or 4 candidates. I luckily had studied him a little bit prior to us even having knowledge of being interested in him. So at Cover One, we actually were maybe one of the only people that had anything up at all. And I'm a big fan. I don't think that ever hurts you, just like maybe it doesn't in a quarterback situation where you play under Tom Brady. I don't think that ever hurts you to be successful underneath this, quote unquote, successful head coach.
Yeah. I mean, Kubiak's definitely that too. I mean, obviously you have to look at the Super Bowl he won last year, but you start to go back and you see the things that he was able to do, especially in Houston as a play caller. I mean, Matt Schaub, for God's sakes, the guy had some of his best years under Kubiak and Dennison's tutelage. So, these guys have a proven track record. I mean, it may not be uber successful, but for NFL standards, I think it's something that I know I'm going to live with.
Yeah, absolutely. And you made a great point. You alluded to the Matt Schaub point. That was one I was going to bring up. I don't care to get that kind of production that he got out of Matt Schaub. That shows that he knows how to coach quarterbacks. He's doing something right. Over the last 2 years, he's, as we know, he's had some tough quarterback play. So,
yeah, I mean, that's for sure. I mean, when you look back too, he's also gotten a lot, as you mentioned, like in the Schaub situation, he's gotten a lot out of quarterbacks that really haven't done much elsewhere. So that to me indicates that he's kind of willing to put his quarterbacks in the situations that best suit them, opposed to, hey, this is my offense, I need you to fit into this. It's more or less, here's what you're good at. Right. I'm going to help you succeed. And I think that is maybe a testament to a veteran coach opposed to a young guy coming in who's kind of bullish with his system, is you need to run my system the way I need it to be run. I think with here, what you're going to get with Dennison is a little bit more flexibility. And I think that's extremely important in what the personnel that the Bills have on offense.
Yeah, it is. And he led, I mean, you can discount it as much as you want, but he led, a bunch of top 10 offenses.
Right.
I mean, you can give it to Kubiak if you want. I still think that a head coach has a lot of personnel issues, a lot of meetings to run. They're not just in the offensive room, even if they're calling the plays. I think it still speaks volumes that he has a top 3 offense under his belt with Matt Schaub.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing you want to talk about too, and what I agree with wholeheartedly is that point exactly where, you don't get, and Kubiak and him have had a really long relationship kind of over the course of their coaching career. And, you're talking about a guy who's very familiar with Tyrod Taylor being his quarterback's coach in his time in Baltimore. So he knows exactly what he's working with. And I think that's also something that at least played into the decision is, hey, maybe this guy can get the most out of this guy passing, because I think we all know what he's capable of on, with his feet and outside the pocket. But I think right now we need to see Tyrod Taylor, if he is indeed going to be the quarterback that they're going to move forward with. He needs to develop that in-pocket presence, that ability to beat defenses with his arm, because as we've seen in the Final Four and really the final 8 teams in the playoffs, is they're all manned by a if not future Hall of Famer, a guy that is right there in that top tier of quarterbacks. You're just not getting that next level without one of these top tier quarterbacks.
Yeah, absolutely. You take out the weird Osweiler situation, and yeah, you absolutely have a bunch.
That's an anomaly because you have one of the best, you have the best defense in the league. Yep. And, you know, it's difficult to kind of emulate that with across. And that's the thing is, me and Eric have talked about it a lot too, is trying to, you know, template or create cookie cutouts of these programs that have worked in the past, the 2000 Ravens. And it's difficult to do that. You kind of have to build your own system and kind of play with it until it works, because I just don't think you can't build like the Patriots because you're not the Patriots.
Absolutely.
So, and I think that's what you're going to see here a little bit too, is maybe a willingness to kind of get out of his comfort zone in Rick Dennison and kind of utilize the tools that he has, because he does have some unique weapons on this Bills offense.
Yeah. And I mean, I think he was let go just due to the fact that he had, you know, a challenging year last year. And, you know, what is he going to get out of Trevor Siemian? I mean, I thought he got a lot out of him for who he is.
Absolutely.
And, I mean,
the fact that team was 8-8.
It's phenomenal to me. I thought that team was terrible. They do have a great defense. You know, everyone knows that, but that offense was pitiful. They did have 2,000-yard receivers that he helped lead,
which I think is a point that should be extended to every Bills fan, that if you want to see guys like Sammy Watkins maximized, I think you're going to see that in this Dennison system. Now, he also coached with a depleted offensive line, and they spent money in places on that offensive line that didn't really pan out for them last year. And then you want to talk about C.J. Anderson going out in like week 5 or 6, not having, and then they kind of give the reins over to a rookie running back who just wasn't ready.
No, he wasn't.
And then you have guys like, you know, Justin Forsett coming in towards the end of this year. So it was a season filled of adversity, and I think it's admirable, at least to that coaching staff, especially on the offensive side, that they were able to have at least the success they were able to have, especially with a guy like Siemian, who's a 7th-round pick. You know?
Yeah. I mean, when Vance Joseph came in, I don't think he had any choice but to turn over the coordinators. And I mean, regardless of who they were, I mean, there might have been rare situations where we would have kept one, but like you saw with Wade Phillips,
right
now they're saying there was dysfunction in the Denver locker room with Wade Phillips. Is that true? I don't know.
It's always one of those things where players have disputed it. I've seen a couple reports that said there's no way that's not the vets, but you never know. And like you said, with Vance Joseph, the new head coach in Denver, young guy, first-time head coach as well, same as in Buffalo, this time coming from Miami. Now, Vance Joseph, on why he decided to make the switch, at least that offensive coordinator, is, you know, he mentioned watching the offense and watching the quarterbacks and seeing the problems with consistently moving the ball. Now, if you're a Bills fan, I know you're thinking the same thing, is one of the biggest question marks and one of the biggest issues with this Bills offense in 2016 was their inability to consistently move the ball and get first downs when they really needed them. Right. Now, is that going to change just because they get a new offensive coordinator with the same personnel? I'm not sure. I think, you know, it's difficult to really judge what Anthony Lynn was able to do because we didn't really see his system. We saw an abbreviated version of his system of the offense. Now, it's going to be a completely different scheme. His scheme really predicated on zone blocking up front, especially in the run game, but creating spacing in between the tackles. And that's something I think last year that we saw Shady McCoy kind of a lot of his good runs came from bouncing and beating contain. This offense and the way that this run game, which is going to be the bread and butter of this offense, don't get me wrong, as much as it's going to be important for Tyrod Taylor, whoever the quarterback is, to become an established passer, this offense is predicated around the run. And I think you're going to see that, you know, week in and week out.
That's got to be successful. I mean, the scheme that he runs running the ball, it will benefit both of our running backs. I really like Mike Gillislee as a downhill runner.
Right.
I think he'll see the open zone and hit it, cut and go. That's the kind of runner he is now, even though that's not necessarily the scheme we were playing. So I think that he fits perfectly. I think he's one of the best backup running backs in the NFL. I think it was a gem of a find. And I think that this zone blocking scheme is going to benefit both of our running backs with their skill sets. Now, is that saying a lot? I think it is, because I don't think that someone's going to come in and, you know, run some, you know, spread offense that's going to not utilize our best play. I mean, right now we both know we only have 2 receivers under contract currently.
And as we mentioned before we going on, one's probably not on the roster come, you know, August, September. So and what we want to do now is take a look at a video of just your simple bread and butter zone-based blocking scheme, and you'll see the openings really kind of in the middle of the field here.
Welcome into the Cover 1 Film Room. Today I want to break down new offensive coordinator Rick Dennison's base offense, starting with the zone run, specifically the outside zone run game. It's a scheme that stresses no negatives. 2 to 3 yard gains are okay, and this is important because as good as the Bills' run game was in 2016, they led the league in negative rushes with 56. With defenses going to more one-gap fronts to keep it simple, what better way to combat that than moving the gaps, and that is exactly what zone concepts do. Former Broncos coordinator Alex Gibbs always taught linemen to have their hands in line with the shoelaces of the center, which it appears that Dennison teaches it as well. Linemen typically line up deeper along the line of scrimmage so that the first drop step helps them gain depth. Dennison will use a lot of motion to make each zone run play look different, and that is what he does here out of 11 personnel. This role as a moving tight end will be perfect for Charles Clay. The outside zone run is actually intended to cut back, but the running back's track starts wide, usually aiming for the tight end. Pre-snap, he is reading the end man on the line of scrimmage. If that technique is wide, the pre-snap read will eliminate the bounce. The offensive line blocks to the play side, and the players are responsible for their play side gap. If no one is in their play side gap, then they move on to the second level. As the back gets the ball, he is surveying the blocks on the read of the number 2 and 3. The uncovered left guard climbed to the second level and cut the inside linebacker, giving a nice lane for the running back to bend it and get upfield. So here's the outside zone run, where the running back bent it back instead of bouncing it or banging it.
The offensive lineman's ability to get to the second level is going to be key.
Absolutely.
To this offense. And, when you talk about guys like John Miller and Richie Incognito in the middle, and you talk about an athletic center in Eric Wood, I think you have some of the better linemen moving, especially John Miller. John Miller doesn't get enough credit for his ability to move inside and really be a great pulling offensive, especially interior offensive lineman. He's going to be kind of the perfect template of an offensive lineman. And obviously Richie Incognito's one of the top interior offensive linemen in the league year in and year out. The fact that the guy's still doing it at this age, at the level that he's able to play, is really impressive. So we can continue to kind of see his development, but I think the guard play, especially on the interior offense, on the interior of this offensive line, is going to be key to the success of this. And you can see it in the video there that, when the middle of the field is opened up in this run scheme, there is ample room to get to the next levels, especially with the breakaway running backs, with the speed that they have on our roster.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a huge Richie Incognito fan. I think he's absolutely perfect for the zone system. The video shows that. When you look at Cyrus Kouandjio, do you think that he fits in at right tackle, or do you think we have to utilize him as a backup swing tackle, left tackle?
Me and Eric have had a theory on this, and my theory is that I think you can fix the issues at the right tackle position with Cyrus Kouandjio on this roster. But it doesn't necessarily include Cyrus at the right tackle position. I think right now I've become a firm believer that the transition of Cordy Glenn from the left side to maybe the right side and having Cyrus play on his natural side on the left side is really, I think, a sensible move for this team. And it's likely the cheapest solution to their issues at right tackle because he's already on your roster. And when you've seen the success on the left side opposed to the right side for Cyrus, I think that's really kind of the end-all be-all for him, is he's going to be a left tackle in this league. And I think he can be a good one from what he's shown in his limited time filling in for Cordy Glenn this year. But I think Cordy can play well on either left or right side. And I think that gives you kind of that flexibility that they're going to need to fill that right tackle position effectively, and obviously cap-wise effectively as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've looked at that in depth, and I think that Kouandjio can make the move to right or left tackle permanently.
Yeah, that's what I feel. Yeah. That's his natural position.
Yeah, absolutely. He's admitted to it. He'll tell you right now, if you got him on the phone, he would say, hey, that's the way my leg kicks. What I'm comfortable with. I'm really a strong player at left tackle, and Pro Football Focus, backs it up. So,
and I think too, it's going to be one of those things where, especially a guy like Doug Whaley, who that's one of his guys. That's a significant draft. Any second round pick. Yeah. As you can see with the success of some of the other second round picks on our team right now on the roster, I think he needs Cyrus Kouandjio to be a starter in this league to validate that pick.
Yeah, he definitely does. And I think that's even more reason he'll make it work. I really do. And I like him. I thought and especially as he started to show flashes, there's even more reason to do the move. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's Juan Castillo's call, but hey, if it's Rick Dennison, what are we talking about here? Flexibility and fitting to your player's strengths.
Yep.
You would think that one of the first things you might do, similar when we, moved Aaron Williams a couple of years ago, would be let's make that switch.
Right.
Helps the offense instantly, can maybe save a draft pick or at least an early draft pick, or maybe save a free agent signing. So I think that's a pretty easy call right now, but we'll see if they want to invest all that money in the right tackle.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really going to be the key. And I think another key is you just pointed out there too, is, the play calling purposes. Now you have Juan Castillo, who is going to be taking over for Aaron Cromer on the offensive line. So that could, potentially change the ideas of what they had for this offensive line. Maybe they feel they need to go out and get a guy, but Ryan Garoy is another guy I think that they need to really consider re-signing as a depth interior guy as well, who could play guard and center. And I think played very well for Eric Wood when he went out. But another thing, Kevin, that I want to talk about with Rick Dennison here is, he's never really had the keys to the motor. He's never had the keys to the car in terms of an offense in the NFL. He's 58 years old now. This is going to be his first real turn to call plays, have the offense be completely his and not Gary Kubiak's. Obviously, Kubiak retired in the offseason, which is why you saw Vance Joseph move over into that position. But this is his first baby. This is going to be the first time he's calling plays on the regular. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's necessarily a bad thing, or do you think, hey, he's not a first-time, offensive coordinator, but this is the first time he's going to be calling plays?
I look at it as almost a positive thing at this age to have that much experience and be able to study under some really good offense, Super Bowl winning teams, and to know how Kubiak manages his offense. I think that that's a positive thing rather than just like a quarterback again, rather than rushing him out there, really getting down and making bad play calls. And he's gotten to learn, see what's worked, see what hasn't. I like it. I think that that's almost a way to go. I'm very positive on the hire, obviously, as I really like Dennison. I think that him, by not calling plays, I look at it as a positive. I look at it like he hasn't had a failed tenure, like a lot of the guys we were looking at. A lot of the guys we were looking at come in with extreme question
baggage.
Marks of proving they can't do it.
Right.
So to me, I think he's done nothing but show he can. I don't think you can knock him for not calling plays, but then say he had a bad offense last year. I think that's double down on that. Yeah,
I think that's completely right. That's actually a really great point. And the idea that his offense did struggle. Let's be real. That offense is Gary Kubiak's offense.
Yep.
Absolutely. Did Dennison have a huge imprint on that? Absolutely. But again, you have to talk about the personnel that he was really given. And obviously, as we've talked about with Simeon and really going back to 2 years ago as well with Peyton Manning in his final season, their Super Bowl winning season, by the way. I think they were able to utilize and maybe something that I'm really going to look forward to is their ability to utilize the screen game a little more effectively than they have been the past 2 years, especially when you have a back like LaShawn McCoy, and using the tight end in the screen game and using Sammy Watkins on line of scrimmage throws. And even though the biggest knock against, college quarterbacks and receivers is they don't run NFL routes, they run a lot of things at the line of scrimmage. And rules are a little bit different in terms of blocking on the line of scrimmage. When you have balls that are thrown at the line of scrimmage, you can't engage right away. The ball has to be caught before you're able to engage to block, which make things a little bit more sticky for those types of plays in the NFL. But you're seeing teams utilize it more and more. And you saw it, especially when Peyton Manning's arm strength was just depleted. They were making a lot more throws at the line of scrimmage.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something that Bills fans have been looking forward to since they drafted Sammy Watkins. And I think maybe this year might be the first time you really do see that run effectively.
Yeah, and to me, one thing you can't forget about their last year's offense, and we said it, C.J. Anderson got hurt. Now, go back and analyze the film of when he played. C.J. Anderson was playing at very high level. He was a high-end fantasy player. He was really dominating the offense in the short passing game. He was dominating on his downhill runs. I really think he affected that offense. I've watched him. I watched him a lot. They played a lot better while he was active, period.
Yeah. No, and you're right. I mean, when you have your top flight running back, the guy that they invested a good amount of money in.
Yep, they sure did.
It would have been interesting to see, too, this year what that offense would look like with Brock Osweiler.
Yeah.
And I only say that because it was a familiar system for him. He, came up through the system, ultimately had a couple of really successful games that ultimately got him paid by Houston. Most memorable for me is that Patriots game in the snow where he kind of came back and beat the Patriots. I think it was on Monday or Sunday Night Football. but that would have been an interesting thing for that offense to kind of still be run by Brock. But do I think he's necessarily a step forward from a guy like Simeon or Lynch? It's tough to tell. Again, because he went to a brand new system, and I'll tell you what, the one thing you could say about Bill O'Brien's system is it demands a lot of the quarterback. It demands perfection from the quarterback position, and I don't think that he was necessarily ready for the type of attention to detail that was.
He wasn't. Definitely not. Yeah,
and maybe that bodes well for me that you saw Osweiler get the success that he had that ultimately got him paid under that system. Is maybe this isn't a system that's going to demand the quarterback to be the focal point of this offense. And I think it proves it that when they won a Super Bowl. Now, obviously, you don't want to take anything away from how good that Denver Broncos defense was during that year. I mean, they really were the reason they won. But the fact that they were able to sort of succeed in spite of having, let's just put it, I guess, frankly, Peyton Manning was bad.
He was bad.
I mean, he played better in the playoffs, and ultimately was the reason that they were able to kind of get over the hump. Is you need that quarterback play, but to get what they got out of the guys in 2015, I think is an impressive feat, no matter what.
Yeah, it sure is. And he has gotten quarterbacks paid. I mean, like we've mentioned earlier in the show, like Matt Schaub, Captain McCree. Matt Schaub's still playing in the NFL.
Yeah, which is crazy. He's going to be on a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, most likely due to the years he had underneath Dennison and Kubiak. I mean, he's a realistic possibility to be a veteran on our roster next year too. So
especially pick six, definitely. He's kind of followed them around. I mean, he's played with the Ravens. He was the backup there with the Ravens. Obviously,
that's why he went there.
Right, exactly. And I mean, that's really kind of why you're seeing. I think that was a name that I thought of too originally as a potential veteran to be on this team for next year as well.
Yeah, he's very likely, and another one to keep an eye out for. And I know no one wants to hear it is Jay Cutler, but
right.
I mean, it's the connections there. Once again, Jay Cutler got paid from Rick Dennison and Matt Schaub got paid from Rick Dennison and Gary Kubiak. Brock Osweiler got paid from both of them. So I think there's enough there that it's a simple offense. You can, like you just alluded to with going to Bill O'Brien's system, I think you can say that as a good thing. Had he stayed in Denver, which by all accounts, they tried really hard to keep him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And
just last minute.
I always thought that's a funny thing is how genius it was of John Elway for them not to pay Osweiler. Well, they offered him $17 million. It's not like they didn't try. They just got outbid. And I think not only that, I think Osweiler wanted a fresh start. I think he was pretty upset about the benching after he thought he played well enough to be the team starter moving forward. But when it turns out, I mean, they made a difficult decision, but it worked out for their team. They ended up winning a Super Bowl. So the coaching decisions, the coaching game plan, I think the need for a top flight quarterback to run the system isn't there for this system. So that to me at least excites me to the point where he has experience with Taylor. He knows what he does well, and he's not going to ask him to do things that he can't do well.
100%. I think you see that with no matter what skill level quarterback he has, that's what he asks him to do. And that might be why he's interested in Taylor. But I don't think that that's just because he was his quarterback coach for one season. I don't think that's a shoe-in that you're going to pick up that option. I'm pro Tyrod Taylor. But I don't think that means anything, truthfully, especially with how December played out. So,
and I mean, when you talk about those last few games, especially against, teams like Seattle, and obviously that Miami Dolphins game is going to stick in everyone's head because it's his final game, maybe. But at least in the season and how well he was really able to play. And he did something that I think a lot of people wanted him to see more of. And that's him being able to bring the team down when they're down and they need a touchdown. And
by all accounts, he won the game there. He won the accounts in overtime before a bad Reggie Bush reverse play call and then a missed field goal. I mean, he came back a couple of times against, a playoff team essentially. So, I mean, I thought he proved it. He threw for over 300. I thought he did what he could do in that, especially in that offense. And like you said earlier, it was a watered down version of Anthony Lynn's. From all accounts, is going to be a complicated scheme there in LA. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's going to do it here for another edition of the Cover One podcast. If you'd like to learn more about new offensive coordinator Rick Dennison, obviously Eric is always putting more content. He's been doing a lot of film breakdowns, so be looking forward to that right up on cover1.net. You can catch us there on Twitter as well at Cover1. I'm on Twitter at Nate Geary, WGR. And Kevin, where can people find you on Twitter as well?
I'm at Kevin Massare, so.
Easy enough.
Yep.
All right, Kevin, thanks for joining me today. And this will do it for another edition of the Cover One podcast. Until next time.